Before we start, I'd like to say that there are some spoilers in this video. I'll be playing through events, domains, and quests. So if you're a Lua player and you haven't played through Chapter 3 of La Hora yet and you don't want spoilers, I'd recommend either clicking off this video or listening without watching. Now that you've been warned, I'll get to the point of this video. As you may know, Genshin Impact has been around for 6 years. Since its release in 1.0 during the pandemic, it's been a very popular game. However, I'd like to address the issues this game has, and why I've decided that it's not worth my time anymore. Even if you haven't played the game, I'm sure you've heard of it. It's a fantasy-based open-world game with 7 elements and 7 nations. Each nation has its own god and its own characters. And the story has and always will be one of my favorite things about this game. But that's one of the main reasons why I can't continue playing it. Genshin Impact is an amazing story. Amazing lore, amazing characters, if we're talking about the story behind them. Most of these characters are very dear to me, and there are a few that have touched me on a more personal level. I've been playing since Fontaine and Atlan, and I've played through almost everything this game has to offer. Positive remarks aside, I can't continue playing it. This game hasn't just given me burnout time and time again. It's reminded me of why I got burnout in the first place. Genshin Impact is a gacha game, so of course I know there will always be some issues involving it. But these issues are things that Hoyoverse can easily fix and simply choose not to. If you don't play it, the way you get characters are through the limited and standard banners. If you lose the 50-50 on a limited banner, you'll get one of the 5-star characters from the standard banner. But this gacha system isn't the main issue here. I'm referring to the amount of polls required to get just one character. To guarantee a character, you'll need at least 180 polls if you're unlucky. To guarantee a weapon, you'll need at least 160. This means you'll need a total of 340 polls for your desired unit. But wait, that's not all. Because what does Hoyoverse do when there's 2 anticipated characters coming out in the same patch? They give us 60 lovely, delicious polls. Forget the weapon banner at this point. You don't even have enough for a single 5-star. But Kuriko, can't you just explore the regions? And burn myself out again? Not happening. Limited banners are called limited for a reason. They're there for like a few weeks, then gone the next. There's absolutely no sane person on Earth that will explore an entire region for a week straight, look at the beautiful 10 polls they got, and go, oh, that was so worth it. No, it wasn't. But other gacha games? They don't do this. Wuthering Waves is getting 197 free-to-play polls for the 3.3 patch. Honkai Star Rail is getting 93 free-to-play polls for the 4.3 patch. Zenless Zone Zero got 181 free-to-play polls for their 2.6 patch. And Arknight's Infield is getting the same amount as Wuthering Waves for 1.3, even though that game is so forgotten that it's honestly kind of impressive. Go ahead, name one game other than Genshin that gives you 60 polls for 2 limited characters. I would literally give you the pen of honor because I have never seen another gacha game that hates its players this much. Kuriko, you don't have to pull those characters. Just pull who you want. That's the point. That's why I'm so frustrated with Hoyoverse. There's something called meta and power creep. It's been in the game since Fontaine or Natlan and has been tormenting players ever since. You want to build and place ethos? You can, but your damaged enemies would look less like damage and more like you're tickling them with a cat toy. I know that because I've fully built and played my C6 ethos for quite some time. You can't make this up. Every time a new character releases, that character will become the new meta. What was that? You want to play DPS Kaveh and non-cry? Your Kaveh will look less like an architect and more like a baby goat trying to bite your ankles. Naturally, every gacha game will have at least some power creep, because new characters mean new mechanics. But with Genshin, Hoyoverse takes it to a whole new level. The main character, Traveler, is only decent until, Liyue or Inazuma, then becomes pretty much unplayable and worthless to the story. It's like the developers are trying to put the protagonist on a pedestal when they don't even feel like a protagonist at all. Meanwhile, with Wuthering Waves, Rover is actually important to the story and can actually do well in some team comps. You get currency through almost anything, like events, exploration, and sometimes through quests. But when Hoyoverse gives us boring, low-effort events, barely any new areas to explore, and quests that only give you 60 Primogems of hours of playing through them, it feels pointless to try and play through all of them when you won't even get enough for the character you want. Not to mention, when you get a new damage dealer, you can't just use them with your old characters. You have to pull for their specific supports, build their team, and farm for their specific artifact set with such a small amount of resin that I'll get to in a minute. You pulled for Skirk? You'll need her premium team with only Hydro and Cryo. You pulled from Ovika? You'll need Natlan supports like Zalonin and Setlali. With Wuthering Waves, I was able to progress through most of the story without having certain meta characters. And I still can. When I lost the 50-50 for Brant and Luke Curson, I was able to grind for a couple days to a week and get enough pulls to get them before the banner ended. All without getting burnout. But with Genshin, getting the character in the same patch is nearly impossible and they only give you 60 pulls within that time frame. If you're not insanely lucky, you'll end up missing it. That's where FOMO comes in. You get daily commissions that give you some Primogems, daily resin, and domains that only unlock on certain days. If you want to build a character, you have to make sure to play every day of the week so you can spend your daily 200 resin and not waste it. Other games have resin reserves. Other games have domains that are open every day of the week so you don't have to squeeze it into your schedule. Many games have FOMO. They use similar methods to keep players playing consistently. But Genshin does that to the point it's draining. It's been half a decade and they still haven't given us resin reserves. It's been half a decade and they still haven't given us a skip button. Every other gacha game has a skip button. But Genshin still doesn't, and it's been 6 years. This has been infuriating for most of the fan base because of how long these quests take, how boring they are to look at, and how little rewards they offer. It would be so easy to add one. It would be so easy to just give players an option on the right-hand corner that will probably keep them playing. But instead, Genshin makes us sit through boring and skippable cutscenes and dialogue that just uses repeated animation and poor lip sync. To make matters worse, if it's a limited event and you don't play it on time and you're a lore player, you'll miss out on all of it unless someone recorded it and posted it because Hoyoverse refuses to repeat these events and quests. It would be so much easier for them and keep the players satisfied, wouldn't it? But no, they decide not to. They decide that it's better to offer boring, low-budget events that drive their free-to-play players away and encourage their spender players to be indifferent. Their players don't matter to them. Only money does. If their income drops, that's the only point they'll do something about it. Which is just enough to temporarily satisfy their players before going back to their usual ways. They've done it before with the first anniversary. They've done it before with Zhongli when players stopped pulling for him because of his kit. They can do it, they just choose not to. Wuthering Waves listens to their players. All the time. So does Honkai Star Rail. But Genshin? It's a crime for them. They ignore everything their player base says unless it's a threat to their income. The gacha system is rigged. When you lose a 50-50 on the weapon banner, that fate point will disappear when the banner ends. You'll lose your guaranteed. You'll lose all the time you spent trying to get the best possible weapon for your unit. Wuwa doesn't have a 50-50 on their weapon banner. They don't have this problem. I hope they never will. There haven't been many times that Hoyoverse has listened to their Genshin player base. We asked for a new endgame mode, and they gave us one, but it was horrible. There were terrible rewards and temporary weapon skins instead of permanent ones. Genshin Impact barely gets any events, let alone ones that are actually worth your time, while WoW and HSR get loads of events that give good rewards and aren't walking from point A to point B. And don't even get me started on the storage needed to simply have the game. The amount of space it takes up on any device is insane. So insane that it's almost impressive how much they destroy your device and electrical bill. As of now, WUWA only takes up around 40 gigabytes on my tablet. While Genshin? Yeah, that's a crazy amount of storage needed for a game that's similar to Wuthering Waves and Breath of the Wild. I get it. It has a pretty big world, but it should not need to take that much space. It's becoming pretty much unplayable at this point if you don't have a massive amount of storage. I fell in love with Genshin Impact for its beautiful world, gameplay, and characters. But I've come to learn from being disappointed time and time again that the developers crush you into the ground and spit on your grave. They don't care about what you have to say. They delete comments that critique them, and they ignore any protest or feedback. This game doesn't just have issues with its overall system. It also has features that are literally useless, but still take up more precious space on your hard drive. Does anyone remember fishing? Does anyone still fish? What's the point of it anymore? That takes so much time, and there are only, 2 fishing weapons that are actually useful. The catch, and whatever the heck this is. Genshin Impact is a modern game. It has been around for 6 years already. You'd think it's become better, but it hasn't. There are so many problems in the game that Hoyoverse has complete control over and can fix. They just choose not to because they're stuck in the mindset that spenders will just continue to feed them money, regardless of what they do. But let's not forget to mention what they do to our precious beloved characters that we come to feel emotionally connected to. Just look at what they did to Sandrone. They ruined her, and I'm not even much of a Sandrone fan. They gave my queen Mavwika a motorcycle and a zipper. They made Mama Bina less of an eerie harbinger and more of a beautiful dove who can't stop flashing us every 5 seconds. And I don't play about Columbina. They made Lohan a limited character last minute because they saw an opportunity for revenue, when most of the players were told he was a standard character and expected that. Literally the only female characters that didn't ruin with fan service were most likely Noelle and Arlecchino, at least in my opinion. There have been countless times where Hoyoverse has completely failed their player base, and that is why I simply cannot support them anymore. I wouldn't call myself a complete free-to-play player, because I've spent money on this game before. I bought BP twice. I bought Skirk and her weapon. I bought Wanderer. I bought Columbina's weapon. I got Raiden for my birthday. I bought Welcome Moons. I have, in fact, spent on this game, and I genuinely enjoyed playing it. But then they started giving us less and less polls, and I started seeing more and more problems. I started experiencing burnout. I started feeling demotivated to even log in every day. Simply playing the game felt more like a chore than something to enjoy. I told myself I didn't want to quit because of the progress I've made on my account and the characters I've grown attached to. But I know that if I stayed, if I kept supporting this game by wasting all my time on it even after they spat in my face, nothing would be changed. Hoyoverse wouldn't fix their game, and nothing would be done. I want to share my love for this game, but I genuinely can't when it has ruined so many things for me. I loved it while it lasted, and I've come to love Wuthering Waves just as much as I've once loved Genshin Impact. So that is why I'm leaving. I won't leave the fanbase. I won't stop loving their characters and story. But I've officially stopped playing, and it's been about 2 weeks since I last touched the game. I probably won't be coming back unless they fix everything that ruined the experience. But the chances of Hoyoverse ever fixing Genshin Impact is 0 to none. They won't be fixing their game. That much I know. Goodbye, Genshin Impact. And hello, Wuthering Waves.